Man, I'm actually a little surprised that this couldn't have been maybe more of the headlining prelim style of fight. Maybe they're trying to, build some more of their heavyweight fighters. But, Maurice Greene has been in some interesting fights in the UFC. Since his tough appearance, he's gone 3-3. And honestly, that victory against Gian Villante is like one of my favorite fights for the worst. Gian Villante is going to go down in my record books as one of the best fighters of all time. Don't at me. But with that specific fight of Greene and Villante, I mean, Gian Villante was on top, and he basically got tired from just grappling. Michael Bisping's call of that fight is one of the most underrated calls of all time. But he says something along, he got exhausted in the more traditional way. Yeah, guys like us who aren't training for months on end to be able to go those 3 rounds. He basically got choked out on top just from being tired, and Mo Greene was able to pull that off. And so with those are the fights you're coming away with victories, and there's huge evidence to suggest that, you've been finished quite a bit in the early parts of, say, the first 2 rounds. That's where you really need to kind of figure out, well, what's going wrong. And I think for Mo Greene, it's say for this fight, he's going to have the length advantage. He's got pretty good kicks. So, stay disciplined. Don't tire yourself out. I think in past fights, he kind of wants to maintain that, distance and keep the long strikes going, but he does still get tired from it. He does get pushed up. He does let people land. So when you're throwing kicks, you got to keep your hands up. And I think with Gian Villante, he was getting hit quite a bit, and Villante's moving up to heavyweight all the way down from middleweight at one point in his career. So, that's where I think that this needs to be a very tactical fight from Maurice Greene's side. I think that he has the kicks. He has some of the longer jab style punches to be able to keep this fight at bay and avoid some of the ground, because I think with De Lima, we've seen him have very interesting outings in the UFC. When you look at his rear trick fight, I thought that was one of his better outings, bar none. And, even early, he got taken down by, a very credible BJJ practitioner who they thought, if it went to the ground, De Lima was going to have serious issues, but he swept him on the first takedown. And to be quite honest, after that, the fight was De Lima's without question. Now, he wasn't really able to get huge finishes, short notice fights, and all that kind of stuff. So that's a bit of a question, but he's finished quite a bit in the past. And so for me, what I like about this fight is it's a great test for these guys who are a lot later in their careers, are going up against guys who should be able to do exactly what they've lost to in the past. So if you're getting better, this should be the fight where you can actually prove that, because with De Lima getting choked out on the ground, by a big man like Alexander Romanov, kind of put his career in a bit of a further path in that sense. But again, coming off of that loss against a guy that we've seen as a huge prospect, Juan Espino and him had a very controversial fight. Supposedly nobody even wanted to fight him, and that's why Espino took the fight. So those are the little things with the fights that we're looking at now. I think that there's a huge opportunity for both these guys, and maybe that's why they're on the main card. Like, I'm picking my brain to really figure that out, because we even had Philippe Lins and Ben Rothwell on the prelims before this. So it's a really interesting call, and maybe there's something that we don't know. But in this case, I just think De Lima's going to work in close. He's going to try to get some powerful shots off. The thing is that he's very much at his best in the first 2 rounds, and Greene has definitely been finished in that time. And when you think about some of the ways he's won his fights post tough season, it's hard to get behind him when it's just such a finite way to win the fight. And it takes so much discipline to stand there, kick, throw long shots, back away, avoid any type of, even to move around that much is just very tiring. And I think that's where, if he's not able to do it, it's going to be what dictates the rest of the fight for him, because I think that the main problem is going to be what De Lima brings, say, in the first 2 rounds. Now, if he's able to outlast that, he's got a really good shot of being, the huge underdog winner, because let's take a look at these lines, right? Without question. I mean, again, I understand why the line even is moving in the other opposite direction, with Mo Greene opening a plus 150 and now getting close to that plus 170 range. I mean, like I said, when your range of winning is so finite, it makes sense for even guys like who aren't in the coaching realm or capping lines for Vegas that we can make those calls, because in this case, De Lima, outside of that fight against Alexander Romanov, I mean, he should be the better in-close striker with the better clinch game. He has pretty good cardio for his size. And fact of the matter is, when we look at some of the groundwork, I mean, his strikes weren't as powerful as you'd hope, but he was able to stay in very much, opportune positions against Rogerio, who was a much better BJJ fighter than people thought. He was able to get into mount a couple of times. So that's where I'm just seeing so many different areas where it just looks like Lima's the better fighter. So, I mean, in this case, I would very much consider the under or the not go the distance. It's probably in the 300s, so maybe a parlay bet if that's your thing. But, the way I'm seeing this, it's very much lining up with, the research I've done and just what I see in Mo Greene over the years. And I hope he can pull it off, at least for his own sake and for everybody involved with his camp, because he's such a long-time fighter, and I think that we've seen him really give it his all. He's definitely at the end of his road, and I think that when you consider being a plus 150, plus 170 dog, there's nothing better than coming out as a victor in that fight. So all the best of luck to both these guys. I think it's going to be a fun fight. Again, surprised it's on the main card and after some of these other fights, but hopefully there's something in it for all of us.